Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Kaiserreich. Again, here we are. This time we are playing as the Socialist Republic of Italy. It's kind of old content at this point, and people on the subreddit keep talking about wanting to remove it, and I don't really blame them. The whole situation here could stand to be improved. But, like, it is a full country tree. I haven't played as the Italians before. There's stuff to do. I'm not going to be sitting around. This isn't like screw around with Minor City like I do with so many games that I play where it's like, let's play as this country from nowhere that has very little content and like 3 divisions. Sometimes those games are really fun. Sometimes they end very poorly. But this time, we are not doing that. We're playing as not a major, but like, a nation with the potential to pretty easily become a decently sized major. If you are watching this video, like the video, make a comment, subscribe. All of those things you should do on YouTube. If you're doing it on my channel, also do it on other people's channels. That seems like a fun idea. If you watch a video and you're like, I like this creator, you should watch more videos from that creator. That seems like a good idea. Anyways, let's begin this video in the most exciting manner possible by reading you a wall of text. The Socialist Republic of Italy. In 1919, the Italians signed an armistice with the Austrians, these bozos over here, ending the war for the Kingdom of Italy. However, the brave socialists and nationalists in Italy rose up against the destructive Savoyards, as in the people from Savoy, the king from Savoy, to replace their system with something better. Even King Victor Emmanuel and his son's abdication was not enough to stop the will of the people, and civil war broke out across Italy. Even as we pushed the royalists out of northern Italy, however, there were traitors in our own ranks. The whites in the Republican uprising, unwilling to accept the inevitability of the revolution, broke with their movement and soon sold themselves out completely to the Austrians. That would be these bozos right here. With our enemies united against us, our advances are halted on the Po and the Abruzzo line, which I think is this, and the war was over. Since the ceasefire in 1920, 16 years ago, that seems plausible, the political situation has changed. Not that much, apparently. Following the moderate unionist failure to capitalize on the fall of the Italian Federation, right, I think these guys used to be united, in 1927, the nationalists in the FAR, calling out the legacy of Gabriele D'Annunzio, who died fighting the Austrians in 1919, started a march towards political dominance. By 1931, it effectively eroded the trade union stranglehold in Parliament, leaving them with a slight majority. When this majority collapsed in 1934, President Giulietti overcame his constitutional bounds to appoint a president's cabinet, led by FAR leader Benito Mussolini and the Lumini. Mussolini himself was acting way more autonomously than expected. While constantly growing his influence, many look with apprehension towards the upcoming 1936 elections, unsure what the future might bring to the Socialist Republic. Stand by. Uniting Italy. Italian nationalists have already begun the call for already. It's only, again, been 16 years. Call for a second Risorgimento to unify Italy once more. Spreading the revolution will not be a simple matter, however. The peninsula exists in an uneasy balance. Germany and Austria are wary of any formal alliance between the SRI and Third International. They know an alliance is inevitable, but any attempt on our part to bring the British and British into a war, to reunite Italy under a singless rule, withdraw, intervention, and start a new Welk Creek. Yeah, that's like the balance of power thing that we have here. Precarious balance. Yeah. Right there. Draw intervention, start a new Welk Creek. The Republic of Italy to the east is protected by Austria for like 5 seconds, but under a similar prohibition against starting a war against us. Eye rolls. So long as the prospect of German and Austrian interference remains, we must be aware that any war to reunite Italy can only be done with limited Third International support. We have not made our move yet, but cannot sit idly for much longer. Italy must be reunited. All right. Look at this guy. Giuseppe Giuletti. We have a lot of buttons to press, as is our way. So we haven't had our cool election yet. We probably should modernize the army. We definitely... we could definitely completely neglect the Navy, which seems to be standard procedure. Let's see. Train research, build some railroads, make a civilian factory, or get Army XP. I think we probably want Army XP. think it's probably in our best interest to get Army XP. So, modernize the Armata Rossa. The Red Army was formed out of mutineering units back in the 1919 Revolution and hasn't changed much since. As the backwardness of the armed forces, one of the leading reasons for our failure to seize the rest of the country in 1927, we should make sure this won't be a problem in the future. So, buttons. We'll press these at some point. Button. We'll press this at some point. These buttons. We will not press them. Let's see. Where are we looking for? Trains? We have them. We can develop coal mines. That will be useful when eventually. We also have boats. Oh my god. What is this? Terrible. Awful. Alright, well, submarines can go here. Wow. Anyways, I think these are supposed to be mine layers. I guess I'll make an independent mine layer fleet. I guess. What side do we want to keep these guys on? We probably want to keep everyone over here, don't we? Yeah. Let's keep everyone at La Spezia. Actually, I can keep the mine layers over here at Ancona, so we can lay mines in the Adriatic, I guess. We need to put a commander. The thing we need to note is whichever direction we go, having spotted out the tree later on, if we go down this route, a bunch of people will be retired. If we go down this route, we'll add some people, but I think a bunch of people are retired over here. I don't know if anyone is retired. Yeah, okay. People are going to get retired over here. So, like, you know, retirement is an inevitability for some of our guys. We should be careful about who we promote. But, like, we don't need to be that careful. I don't think we have that many battleships, so let's just put this guy in charge. We have Un Carrier. So, aviation enthusiast. Go. Submarine man. Ah, okay, there's a label. Maybe. Anyways. Submarine man, go. You, I guess, go. And that's all the thinking we're going to do about the Navy. A thing that no one has ever cared about in this game, ever. That's overstating things. I've cared about the Navy before, but, like, it doesn't matter as much as it does, like, kind of IRL. Right now, we're building civilian factories. We probably want to stop doing that relatively soon, but we should at least start. Technology. 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 Unassigned divisions. Look at this mess. Actually, this isn't too bad. So we got 14 infantry divisions, some of which are Alpine divisions. What do our divisions look like? Are they dog water? This seems not terrible. This is cavalry. This seems fine, if lacking support artillery. Honestly, could be a lot worse. How are my tanks looking? Ah! Okay. I'm gonna do the standard operation, which is max priority everything except upgrades. Upgrades are the lowest priority, which means if I'm making new units, the existing divisions will get prioritized. Yay. Where do we want to go? I don't know. Like, you should probably be in a... Yeah, there. In a situation like this. Let me do that. That's fine. Not exactly going to matter that much. Alright. Socialist officer. Fascist officer. Okay, so everyone is properly labeled. So we should probably decide now. Are we going to go socialism? Or are we going to go fascism? I have decided I'm going to go socialist. Why? I don't know. I don't really want to be fascist. That's basically it. So I'm going to select socialists. It's kind of cool that, like, a bunch of, you know, that it's sort of a mechanic that these guys don't like each other. Right. Ettore, Torrio, Randolfo, Paschiardi, and Dardano Fenudi. I apologize for my Italian in the same way I apologize for, like, everyone. I wish there were an ideology button. I mean, it doesn't matter. France. My friend. Siam. My friend. I'm not going to bother with tungsten. Do I need oil? Not right now. Alright. Inefficient. Tungsten. Out of fuel. Yeah. Weirdly, we don't have that much fuel. Oh, yeah. I forgot planes existed in this game. Airplanes. Go. Alright. Fighter. Attack bomber. Close air support. Naval bomber. Fighter. Attack bombers. Yeah. And then naval bombers. Just go hang out. I don't know, man. Here? I think I'll probably figure out what I want to do with my navy. Not soon. Okay. Also, in order to begin Risorgimento, we need more manpower in the field. So, infantry divisions are our friend. How much manpower do we have in the field? About half of what we need. So, more Alpine divisions is a good start. And then that's about right. How much infantry? How much manpower? Yeah, all right. That should do for now. We'll gather up the military support that we need. Also, oh, nice. All of our construction stuff is getting done. These are, like, actually kind of decent things that we're building. Look at that. And we do not need... Nice, look at that. Look at that! We're in such a cool position. And we're so great. Let's see. We can go faster than that. The question is, $1 million question is, do we want to train our guys? Yeah, I think it's a good idea. We want to train these guys. Yeah, man. Do we want to train these guys? Yeah, man. Do we want to train these guys? Sure, why not? Do I want to train my airplanes? I'm going to stick these guys in a theater together. Prioritize them. And start training them. Look how fast this fuel drains. Go, go, fuel. Mosley wants to talk with Mussolini. Oswald Mosley of the Union of Britain has invited the chairman of the Fascio di Azzurrone Rivoluzionaria, Benito Mussolini, to Birmingham to discuss the common ground between their ideologies. Mussolini has thanked him for the invite and set off in the name of internationalism. Off you go, Benito! And Viktor Chernov assassinated. Viktor Chernov, leader of the SR Party, and primary figure within the opposition parties which control Russia's upper house of parliament, was assassinated today by an unknown assailant outside government offices. Many assume the SZRS government to be behind the recent attack, as Chernov's death would remove the last obstacle for President Boris Savinkov to finally enact his more radical reforms he has been blocked from pushing since the SZRS election victory 2 years ago. Whether this proves to be true, Chernov's death has signaled the rest of the world that democracy in Russia has come to an end, and dictatorship under Savinkov is surely just around the corner. How barbaric! It's so barbaric it made me drink water. That is how you know how it's super barbaric. Alright, let's keep going. Do I want to get more fuel? Who knows? The Totalist Charter. Mussolini, Valois, Herzog, and other interested parties arrived in Birmingham today to discuss their common ground. It has been agreed that Maximism, Sorelianism, and national syndicalism all share basic principles of the state's primacy in the socialist struggle, the role of the national identity within the state, and the importance of a strong central authority to preserve and build socialism. The Charter also claims the socialist is the final stage of human development, and that democracy is not necessary to achieve socialism. These statements have drawn great criticisms from other socialist factions who gave it the name totalism as a play on totalitarian socialism, which has been eagerly accepted by Mosley, who added it to the manifesto's name, attributing to their total commitment to socialism. Let's hope the people reject this madness. Well, I'm going to reject this madness. Eddie VIII, crowned as King of Great Britain. George V, last King of Great Britain and Ireland to rule the home isles themselves, has passed while in exile in Canada. The first Windsor King's reign shall be remembered with sorrow and sadness, as during it Britain lost both the Weltkrieg and its homeland. The crown was inherited by Eddie, Prince of Wales, who now styles himself as Eddie VIII. King Eddie is a vengeful and ambitious man, and not on good terms with Prime Minister Mackenzie King. He lives on to the goal of avenging his father and reconquering the home isles, and is thus quite popular amongst British exiles in Canada, among others. Interesting. Oh boy. Dun dun dun. So what we had before is the Danusian coalition. Since 1934, the Socialist Republicans governed by President Giuletti and Prime Minister Mussolini, ruling together in a nationalist and still internationalist fashion, invoking images of the great patriotic martyr Gabriele D'Annunzio. In spite of all the propaganda, it's clear the myth of D'Annunzio isn't nearly enough to solidify the government in a revolutionary nation. In addition, there are fears that Mussolini's worked behind the scenes to erode our revolutionary democracy. Okay, well, not behind the scenes anymore. Mussolini and the Totalist Charter. When he left for Britain, we thought the Mussolini-Mosley summit would simply be one of pleasantries and diplomacy. Instead, Mussolini went ahead and put his signature on Mosley's latest invention, the ideology of totalism. Some naive functionaries believe nothing has changed. From the start, Mussolini subscribed to fascist ideology in the 1919 Fascist Manifesto. And the fact that he now has international allies changes nothing on the international front. However, this was yet another erroneously publicized autonomous action without presidential endorsement, complicating President Giuletti's position, as when he broke a constitutional norm to appoint Mussolini, was supposedly appointing a president's cabinet, acting on his orders. With the 1936 elections drawing ever closer, it appears Giuletti's tenure as president may be nearing its end, as, having alienated most moderates through his breach of constitutional norms, and having lost much ground to his supposed puppet Mussolini, he won't be able to gain the goodwill to appoint another president's cabinet anytime soon. How will we form a government now? The Totalists will leave the coalition. Anyways. I think there's a thing. Out of fuel. We don't gain any XP. Well, the army doesn't gain any XP. So we can... Oh, these guys are the only ones with fuel, so they're fine. That's not true for the air and navy. For the navy, mission if speed, attack, and a submarine torpedo attack are way worse, but that's it. They gain XP at apparently a normal rate. Events are occurring. Let's start with the most important event. The Fifth Anglo-Afghan War! Dun, dun, dun. After the Weltkrieg, as the British Raj collapsed into turmoil and warfare, the neighboring Emirate of Afghanistan took this advantage of this as an opportunity to seize the northwest frontier province from the scrambling British. However, Afghanistan's government's attempts to modernize over the last decade have met with fierce resistance from the conservative elements within the country. King Amanullah Khan now hopes to use the supposed turmoil in Lahore, following the death of George V, to his advantage. By repeating the success of the Fourth Anglo-Afghan War, the king hopes to silence conservative opposition and bring new lands to the crown. However, international experts do not put much hope in the tiny mountain nation winning this conflict. Hey, wait a minute. I just remembered. Who cares about Afghanistan? World tensions increased by 1. Black Monday on the 3rd of February. 1936, the Berlin Stock Exchange stopped sinking. It plunged. Fueled by the instability of the market, panic selling erupted soon as the stock market opened on Monday morning. It took well into the night for the telepreneurs to stop sputtering out the results, what became known as Black Monday. When the results had been analyzed, it was clear the situation had only got worse. The shock of this unprecedented economic catastrophe will no doubt be felt over the entire world. Through events popping up on nations everywhere, the German Golden Age has ended, for now at least. Marx predicted this day, and he predicted we would receive 4 world tension. Electoral gridlock in France. The Commune of France, the world's leading socialist nation, united as a federation of city communes and directed by the Comité de Salut Public, the chief executive. Ever since its inception, however, the Second Commune was not uniform in its policy. Numerous factions arose, each one with their own idea of which path France should take. As the time for revenge against Germany in the World Revolution closes in, the CGT election of 1936 is set to be very important. It was so important, in fact, that none of the 4 factions could acquire a majority. Much like before the election, a coalition must be found. But how will this change the shape of the Commune's politics? Only the men of the CSP know. Interesting. Anyways, we're going to keep trying to get those sweet XPs. Ha-ha! Capitalist economies collapse. Over the past few days, the workers and peasants of the world have watched the bankers, capitalists, and tyrants scrabble to reap the benefits of the workers' labor for their own selfish gains. They call it Black Monday. A terrible event, they say. They say that such a collapse was completely uncalled for, something no economist could have predicted. Of course, the workers are no fools. The people see through their lies. As the great philosopher Karl Marx predicted, such collapses are inevitable results of capitalism. As capitalist abuses and reaps the benefits of the workers, they begin to eat themselves alive like rabid dogs. All this as they leave their workers to struggle and die by the wayside as they scramble for the last piece of meat. Our nation, however, has decoupled itself from the capitalist world and thus begun the construction of a true people state. Therefore, we remain unaffected and can only watch as the great nations of the world are eaten alive by their capitalist overlords. This is the great awakening for the peasants and workers of the world, and soon the workers of this nation will begin to organize against their oppressors. We must stand by and stand tall as the true example for the workers of the world. Workers of the world, unite! You have nothing to lose but your pants. In fact, that joke was pretty offensive, so I'm going to be taking the offensive doctrine. Boom. We can modify the officer corps. Look at that. All right. Right. We're not in Kaiserreich anymore, so the rules are completely different. We should probably grab the guy. Army morale specialist, maybe. 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 Remember. Yeah, we want the guy who gives us, we want to get the guy who gives us more XPs. That's going to give us army experience. We've modernized the Armata Rossa. And that allows us to grab, can we get Mark's portrait? Mark's portrait! Woo! We love Mark's portrait. We're going to wait for Mark's portrait. Alright. We can't build a new government yet. We are going to wait for these guys. We're going to create ENELNL. Even after the revolution, electricity provision has been left to regional companies. No more. Better efficiency will be achieved with the formation of one national energy body. I love a simple description. Love to see it. Alright. With that, I'm going to call it. This was a setup episode. I will see you in the next episode for more Italian syndicalism. Goodbye.